So just a reminder, we are recording this session and it will be featured on the F4S platform and YouTube channel. Now on to the program proper of today's event. We are so excited to welcome two guest speakers from the field of sustainability. First off, we are so delighted to be joined by the co-founder and CTO of Deploy Tech. This inspiring woman leads the development of products and manages the manufacturing and the research and development teams at Deploy Tech. She also won the Young Innovators Award in 2021. Please welcome Beren Kayali.
Thank you so much, Adele, for introducing me. So I prepared like a little bit visual presentation for you guys today to take you through my engineering and sustainability journey. So as Madal mentioned, I'm Beren, co-founder and director and CTO at Deploy. So I'm just gonna start right away. So it was more than 10 years ago when I was just starting high school. I got introduced to a club called Robotics Club, and here you can see me really awkwardly holding a small machinery called Dremel to do a couple of different bits and pieces on a aluminum piece. So my journey began there. I started with Legos, and then I get the privilege to move to this bigger size, real life materials that I can use to build Legos with. And from there, we were attending a couple of different competitions for robotics, but something that really stuck me during those times were when we were going to compete in the US. I had a chance to visit Microsoft headquarters, Boeing headquarters in Seattle. It's one of the biggest airplane manufacturing factory in the world, even to this day. I noticed something. So we were taken to these amazing tours inside the headquarters. We were treated like celebrities. But something was missing for me because the people that I could relate with, like immediately, they were explaining how the planes were made and everything. And I was just looking around and trying to relate something that resonates with me because everybody was so serious and everybody was to that day in my 13, 15 years old mind. I just couldn't relate myself in that environment. So I was like, oh, engineering is not a thing for me. Like, I don't see myself working here, which was super wrong. And I proved that to myself again and again. Um, so that image is really important for me because that day I was like, oh, I'm not even going to ask any questions because I'm not going to do engineering at all. I don't relate myself here whatsoever. And the next year, I kept going with this robotics club. Here you can see me like on the floor, really exhausted. I remember like I didn't sleep for a day at all, just working on the robot. We had time restriction, but I was also happy because we were working on projects related to sustainability, like solving traffic problems or solving, trying to find more eco-friendly transportation methods. And here at the bottom in black and white photo, you can see my team with our proudest robot. We had worked on that for like 6 to 8 weeks. And even though we were so sleepless and tired, we were so happy that finally it was working and we were just packing the robot to send it to the US. I put this other image with the colors because I want to show the contrast, the way our generation and probably with your generation, how we are dealing with things, it's so different than what I saw in the Boeing factory. Because when we were doing the robots, we were also celebrating as if it was like a festival or carnival. Here you can see we were dyeing our hair, we were building our own jewelry. So because we were into technology and because we were into like engineering robots, it didn't mean that we had to wear things in a certain way or do things in a certain way. So these programs, all these competitions just opened my mind that being technical doesn't necessarily meaning being boring. So we were like together celebrating everything as if continuing that as if we were celebrities or we were singers or we were like, had this amazing opportunity to show off our other skills as well. So years passed by. In 2013, I decided to become a mechanical engineer, which was so surprising because I was like, oh, I would be never bothered to study engineer. It's so boring, it's so dull, it's all metals. I need colors. So here you can see me volunteering for the same competition, robotics competition, when I was doing my engineering bachelor's degree. And I moved to the UK to do my master's at Royal College of Art in Imperial College London. And there I was introduced to this wide world of sustainability and I got obsessed with it. And I want to talk about it today. So in this design course, we were exposed to so many different aspects of sustainability. I got so obsessed that I lived waste free for 6 months for my dissertation. So what does that mean is, we buy products from market, like from Tesco, from Sainsbury, from, different markets, or like from grocery stores, and everything comes in packaging. And I was trying to really minimize my waste. So I would go to local farmers market. I will try to bring my own water bottle every day. I would refuse to use, plastic bottles or plastic packaging, because all of them, they generate waste that will stay in this planet more than 500 years, which is a lot. So at that time, I was trying to do all of my projects waste free. I would just go to the waste bins to see if there's like any leftover wooden pieces, or I would try to learn how to make containments from cutting glass bottles. So I was really, really, really obsessed with sustainability. And there, actually, I noticed that going through a couple of projects, the biggest scale of impact that I can create in this industry is through industrial level. So I was like doing all these individual efforts, but I noticed that, okay, I need to set my career in this area to be able to make the biggest impact. So before graduating, I had this amazing opportunity to collaborate with British Airways, with other students from our university. So we were designing future food, or like we were designing the future flight experience for British Airways, and we were imagining year 2120, something like that. So we were really envisioning like 100 years from now on, and envisioning, okay, how does the flight experience would look like. So we were like combining the design of flight and user experience together with sustainability. So we were like, there's tons of waste in the planes, and with food, for example, there's just two different options. So people might not like to eat certain foods. So people, when they get a bite, they're leaving the stuff, or they like the main dish, but they don't like the dessert. So how can we, or some people, they like eating a lot, some people, they don't like eating a lot. So it generates so much waste, and it translates also in the fuel consumption as well. So for a plane, the most important carbon dioxide emission part is the fuel. So you were like, how can we translate that into also a bigger impact of reducing carbon emissions from the fuel as well? So we came up with this idea. It was 100 years from now on, so technology wasn't an issue. So we designed this Uber, like super customizable food for people. So for example, today I'm flying from here to Kenya, so it's like a hotter weather, so I should be getting the food to make me adapt to that environment. So for example, can we utilize the DNA of cactus to make that water storage available for other people as well, so they don't feel dehydrated when they landed? Or I'm flying from here to Asia, for example, the time difference is a thing. So can I utilize all these ingredients to make me more like adaptable to that environment? So we were combining technology together with sustainability, but also considering really like high-tech DNA engineering and modifications, those type of things, to see if we can get somewhere. For me, it was really exciting, and we had a chance to exhibit our project in Saatchi Gallery in London, which is a big thing. And finishing off my presentation, as I told you, I noticed that biggest impact that I can create is not just, reducing my plastic bottle usage, which is a big thing, but also I need to be in the industry, working every day towards sustainability goals to make a bigger impact. So that's where my co-founder and I, we founded Deploy, which is a sustainable water storage unit that we can ship it anywhere in the world, and it's the best and the most sustainable option in the market for our size. So just to give you an example, we did a couple of different applications in Ecuador. So we manufacture in Wales our water storage units, and we can ship it to Ecuador, we ship it to Saudi Arabia, we ship it to India, which they have massive sanitation and water problems. So yeah, this is me. I'm open for any type of questions. If you're interested or if you just want to say hi, I'm here to answer any of your questions.
Thank you so much, Beren, for your inspiring story. I like how you started from, feeling like a rock star in your robotics club to finding your fascination for sustainability, and then now founding your own company and making it really a huge impact to our planet. So, if anyone has questions for Beren, please do share it in the chat box, and we'll be answering all of them later on in the session. Now, to introduce another role model in the field of work, we have the Community Program Manager of Global Commercial Real Estate Services Company, JLL. Here to inspire us in building thriving communities, we have Natalie Ashwood. Natalie?
Thank you. Morning, everyone. So I'm the Community Program Manager, and I work at a company, as Madel said, we're called JLL, and we work in an industry called real estate. So if you don't know what real estate is, it's working with all types of property and people that would either purchase or invest in property all the way through the property life cycle. So that might be people that want to buy and invest in land, people that want to buy a cluster of buildings and either rent those buildings out. So we would work with our clients to find tenants to rent the building, or they might want to hold on to them for a while, wait until they increase in value and then sell them on. And so we do valuations and various other sort of site-specific work. And then we also do facilities management as well. So where people need engineers to come and fix air conditioning or fridges in buildings, we provide that service as well. We have an absolutely huge range of clients, so people that work in pharmaceuticals and tech, retailers like Amazon and IKEA, who have obviously, their buildings, they have huge distribution centres and massive shops and retail in retail parks, and sometimes hotels. So a massive range of different types of client that are based all over the world. So our company is one of the largest real estate companies in the world. I think there are around 70,000 employees across the globe. And in the UK, we have about 4,000 employees, and we are based across 8 to 10 offices, I think. We have offices from Scotland down to Bristol, and there's even 3 in London, and all over the UK. And so in my role, I'm just going to tell you, I sit in the sustainability team. So we have a UK sustainability team, which manages all our sustainable activity for the company. So we don't work with clients as such. We work in trying to ensure that all our offices and our buildings are tackling the nature and climate emergency. So I have colleagues that work specifically on projects like cutting the carbon emissions of our buildings and how we use energy and electricity, reducing single-use plastic, and actually we're trying to eliminate that, how we use that across our offices, which it can be quite detailed in terms of anything from is there a tea bag to what our technology products are wrapped in, how do we tackle that, and increasing recycling rates. All sorts of other things come under that bracket as well, but they're just a few of the things to highlight some of the commitments that we have. And we also have external facing targets around some of those things. And then moving over to the area that I'm responsible for. So I want to show you this slide because this shows how sustainability and community works really links together. So I'm responsible for all the activity that our company does in the community. So I work with various different charity partners, and I'll come and talk about that a little bit later. I try and orchestrate different volunteering activity for our employees. So we get to do some really great stuff out in the community, whether that's going into schools and meeting young people, doing mentoring, or whether that's going out and clearing riverbanks of rubbish or working at a city farm or something. And both these teams, so the box in the middle refers to how we work, the type of people that we work with. So obviously it's really important that we engage our employees on becoming more sustainable, all the 4,000 of us that we've got, and also working with external people outside of the company. So that's people that help us manage our supply chain. That might be people that we buy our products from, or anybody else that sort of is a partner of ours, and ensure that we're either meeting the right environmental standards and community standards. Another thing that we do that I manage through my team is pro bono work. And so if you might have heard that term, but pro bono work is essentially how we're able to offer all those services that I mentioned that we do with our clients, but able to offer them to charities, but for free or at a reduced rate. So which is a really important thing that we're able to do. And this slide shows you some of the things that we get up to in the community team, and it is a lot of fun. I might be biased, but I think I've got one of the nicest jobs in the company. So you can see some people out restoring some brick wall at a dock in London. We've done some planting trees. We do a lot of awareness workshops for our employees, ensuring that they are safeguarding and looking after the environment, that they have the knowledge to know how to reduce their own waste. We do fundraising for charities, and do running activities and various other things, and obviously have a lot of fun on the way. So I just thought it might be helpful to think about some of the skills that you might need. This might come talk about this a little bit later, and you might have some questions around this. But in my job day to day, I work with a lot of other people, whether that's people internally or externally. So if you're doing this kind of job, you've got to like talking. So I go out to meetings, take part in presentations, and with that also I get to be quite creative. So we think of new projects that we can do, new charities that we can work with, and partnerships, and it's always an ever evolving thing. How can we do more exciting things to work with our charity partners? Another thing which is maybe a bit surprising is we have to work with a lot of data. So it's about being able to record information, track it over the year. Can we report it to other colleagues to tell the story of what we're doing? So how many volunteering days do we have? How many partners have we worked with? How much money have we raised? And it's being able to track this data across different partnerships and being able to share that with colleagues and share that externally. Being able to write some communications, and it's all trying to think of ways in which to do it in an engaging way. So not really long, boring documents that are 45 pages that people aren't going to read, but nice, engaging reports and information for the website and marketing information. And also there's quite a lot of research. So looking at what other organisations are doing, what our competitors are doing, what our clients are doing, and being able to just see what's going on in the news in the world around us. And then about just thinking about what you might like to do if you were thinking about taking a role in investing in your community. So could you volunteer at a charity? And if you are working with a charity, perhaps maybe you haven't really looked at what they do in too much detail, but think about how many people does it help in the community, and what type of activities do they do? So do they work with elderly people? Do they do exercise activities for people with disabilities? Do they do lunch clubs, or any way in how that they might support individuals or animals, or anything else out in the community in and around where you live? And what type of different jobs are there at the charity? And this might be interesting for you to explore. So you'd have somebody that's obviously the chief exec, perhaps, somebody that does all the finances, people that work hand in hand with individuals in the community. How does the charity get money? So some charities have to fundraise, and others get money from the local government. It's all worth kind of investigating, how do community organisations work? And is there something that you could do at your school? Is there something that's interesting, a little project that you could run that would either raise money, or maybe you could work with an old people's home and do some volunteering? And you start building your interest in how community organisations work, and you'll is a good piece of research, I would say. Okay, that's all from me.
Thank you so much, Natalie. It's so amazing to hear from you because I'm from the Philippines and in Asia, and I see JLL everywhere, especially when it comes to the high-end buildings in the city. So it's really nice to hear how such a global and successful company like yours is making an impact through charitable work, social development, raising awareness, and all those things. So I'm sure our students listening right now or watching right now are so inspired already. But if anyone from our audience do have a question for Beren or Natalie, please do send them in the chat box. So we are now moving on to our question and answer segment. Since we are not yet receiving any questions from our audience, I'll definitely kick off this segment because I do have a lot of curious questions for both of you. So, we've heard earlier how meaningful your work is, but right now I would just like to start off with a very simple question. What does a typical day like in your job? So let's start with Beren. You're on mute, sorry.
Yeah. So I get into the office, and then usually I have on Wednesdays and Fridays meeting with the team to catch up. And then we have, so I visit the factory, and then we set up the plan for the day because we are doing manufacturing within our factory. So we set a goal for the day to make one tank or finish some sub-assemblies, or if we have a special project, so we work on that. And then after spending a couple of hours in the factory, I go back to the office. And at this stage in my business, so in early days, it was so different, but right now we are in more like a stable state. So I'm more on my computer until lunch, replying some urgent emails. And if I need to send some documents, I'm sending those as well. And in the afternoon, it's again more for special projects. For example, recently we attended like we did some contributions to humanitarian aid. So I'm working long-term solutions for humanitarian aid, for refugee camps, or for disaster relief. So that is something with climate change that we are really interested in. That there's like a flooding in one side of the world, but also there's like wildfires in another side of the world. So we are trying to balance and develop products for those areas. So I'm constantly doing brainstorming and going through documents, reading, researching. So I feel sometimes like a student because I had a lot of things to catch up. So yeah, that is how I spend my day in an average day, let's say.
That's wonderful to hear because you have your own company. So it might be hard for young people or students to envision themselves. What would it be like to have your own company? So it's really nice to hear that from you, Beren. How about you, Natalie? What does a typical day like in your job?
Yeah, I'm really fortunate. I have a very varied job. So some days I might be sat in the office and trying to focus on writing reports or crunching some of that data that I mentioned earlier. But other days I can be out in the community, meeting one of our community partners, looking at how they're working with people, sharing ideas, looking at their visions for the future, seeing how our company can either invest and help them either by providing funding or doing some fundraising with our employees, or whether we can try and get some volunteers to go and work with their organisation. And sometimes it can be quite an admin heavy day where I'm booking meeting rooms to try and get an event together so we can invite young people into our office and show them around and show what it's like to work in our offices. And And then some days I'm literally rolling up my sleeves and helping out at a city farm and helping you know, in the mud and the rain. But generally it's a mix of being desk based and out meeting people quite a lot.
That's great to hear. I feel like working in a huge company like JLL, maybe some young people might be intimidated, but hearing from Natalie, it's really nice to know that there's a lot of aspects in her job that they can do. So your roles, both of your roles seem very dynamic. Like both of you do a lot of things in a day that, you know, maybe you won't do again tomorrow or until the next week. So I'm so curious to know, what aspect of your jobs do you enjoy the most? What do you love the most? Like what is it about your job that makes you want to get up in the morning, go to work? Beren?
So for me, again, two things. So recently we went to, so there was an earthquake in Turkey. So we went there in person to deploy a couple of, like we deployed 15 tanks over there. And we had to stay in one of the displacement camps as well. So that is something most recently that I experienced. Like, we are a sustainability company, we do this water storage units, but also there's like other branches that is, I would say, seasonal, or some sort of opportunity arises, or it's just like out of the blue we had to do this thing, and it's exciting for me. And creating that real impact, seeing like, okay, this water tank is going to serve for 500 people for their soup kitchen, for example. So per day, like 4,500 meals will be made through this water tank. I think that is like, it just makes me every day, wow, like coming from such a broad, mechanical engineering and then doing masters, I'm so like specifically doing something that I feel so much satisfaction. Before that, I'm such an enthusiastic in technology, so I love combining design with technology and sustainability with technology. So every day I'm like, how can we make something more efficient? How can we make something that is like less energy intensive? Just like having this mind puzzles for me, it is amazing. That's why I enjoy my job a lot.
That's so wonderful to hear. I feel like what really gets us going in this kind of job is really seeing that impact that we have on people's lives. So that's so wonderful to hear. How about you, Natalie?
And yeah, so for me, I think one of the things I really enjoy is thinking about new ideas. So not too dissimilar to Beren, but when we meet a new charity partner and I think about the potential ways in which we could work with them, or an employee has an idea of a kind of a challenge that they want to do. So this job is really creative, and what I'm doing now and projects that I'm working on now won't be the same thing that I'm doing in a year or 2 years' time. So you really get the chance to think of fun and inspiring things, both for your colleagues, but also for partners that you're working with. So that's something that's really satisfying for me.
Yeah, and something related to this question, we've heard how meaningful your work is because of how much you love your work. Um, but in terms of solving like world problems like climate change, how do you think your role and your company is doing that? So this is a question from a student named Harry. Yeah.
Yes, I would love to start answering that. So I think that was something missing in my presentation. So at Deploy, we have an innovative material that we are replacing concrete, conventional concrete. So when you go build a concrete water tank, you need to make 15 centimeters thick of a wall, and you need 10 tons of materials, including cement, including water, including gravel, to be able to make that infrastructure. So compared to 10 tons, we are replacing that with the wall thickness of 15, we're replacing it with just 6 millimeters. And that 10 ton of material transporting from one place to another place, we are replacing that with just 350 kilos. So it's a massive contribution on our side that we are low emission in materials, low emission in transportation, but also we use 70% less water, which is a really scarce resource in this era. Um, so one aspect of it is coming from there, but also there's something called in the scientific area that is called life cycle assessment. So it is when you design something in your mind, and then when you start producing that, every single material, the machinery, the electricity that the machinery is going to be using, to the day that you're using, okay, when I'm interacting with that material or with that product, the emissions that I'm creating. Let's say I'm gonna make a toaster, so there's so much materials that goes into that toaster, but also when I'm using that toaster, there's also carbon emissions through electricity that I'm creating, right? And then let's say this toaster got broken in 5 to 10 years, and then what do I do with all this materials? If there's any plastic, it's gonna keep emitting carbon emissions, but also there is this metal element and I need to transport it somewhere. So from the beginning to the end life, we are calculating how much carbon emission is created through this product. So when we compare what we are doing at Deploy, we are the most sustainable compared with conventional concrete, obviously, but also there's other competitors like plastic, which is low carbon emission on the side. When we think about the whole life cycle, we are still more sustainable compared to them, even us sending our product from here to Ecuador or from here to India, whereas they can just get something local. So we are like really advantages over anything you can imagine, because we do everything by calculating, coming from engineering, and like really doing the nitty gritty job of like we had to compete and we had to do something better from them.
Wow, that's so impressive to hear, Beren. Congratulations on the work that you do, and thank you so much in behalf of us, the entire world, for doing such a wonderful job. How about you, Natalie? How do you think your company or your role helps solve the problem of climate change?
I guess there's two ways that we can look at it. So my team, I'm the internal sustainability team. And so one of the things that we're doing, which is really slightly on a smaller scale than the next thing I'm going to say, is looking at how we are as an organisation and trying to ensure that all our operations as a company are as sustainable as possible. So we've got commitments around ensuring that we reduce our global travel. If we're using vehicles, that any vehicles in our fleet are electric vehicles. If in the design of our office, we use furniture that's built by a methodology called circular. So we would use materials that have been recycled to make all the desks and the kitchen areas. One of our offices, which is in Canary Wharf in London, recently won an award because we have air recycling filtration systems and low energy areas. So and practices that we do. So if there aren't many people on one floor in the building one day, we will move everybody up to the other floor and we will shut that floor down, so we're not wasting or using electricity. And all sorts of various things around managing waste as well as carbon emissions, and improving nature as well, which is a really huge thing that's becoming more and more important for businesses to do. That's one side. And on the other side is how we're working with our clients. So our clients, as I've mentioned, we have a massive array, hundreds and hundreds of different clients that own buildings. And so when somebody has a building, they have a huge environmental footprint from the energy that they use, from the carbon that exists in the concrete already that Beren mentioned that exists within that building. So when they're looking to build a new building, could they retrofit an old building instead of starting from scratch and building a new building? And so we look at doing different services around that. The lease that somebody's taking, is it a green lease? So are we promoting it as a rental agreement that has sort of sustainability at the core rather than a profiteering exercise? A lot of our clients say to us, well, we kind of know what we're doing with carbon, and trying to calculate a carbon, but we don't know how to reduce this. Can you help us? So we will come in and try and look at how they can reduce their water usage through different technologies, or their energy consumption, and try and give them a roadmap on how to reduce that. So there's a lot going on with our clients, and we're building it, and it's escalating at a very fast rate. We can't keep up with the demand sometimes, but it's really inspiring to see all these people like Beren and new technologies that are coming out that we can help inspire our clients to be thinking differently.
Thank you, Natalie. I think it also provides our young people or students the idea that, you know, whichever industry they find themselves in, they can always work, in a sustainability aspect of that company or that role. So thank you so much for that. And speaking of, opportunities for young people, we also do have questions about how does your company engage young people, whether it's work experience, internships. I know, Natalie, you mentioned earlier about mentoring young people as well, so we would love to hear that from you as well. Beren, you can start.
Yeah. So we have been doing, so we are a fairly young company. So for the last 2 years, we have been doing internships. So it can be from any type of background, because we are super multidisciplinary within the company as well. And we value those different channels of feedback that is really important for us. But also, people who apply to us are from university as well, from like master's degree as well. But why not in the future we also do this internship program for high school students as well, for their summer internships? Or if you just, or also we're really happy to host people just to show them around, just like give them a tour what we are doing, or like what deploy day look like. So yeah, these are the things that we have in action right now.
Thanks, Beren. How about your company, Natalie?
Yeah, this is something that we're constantly working on and looking at how we can do this better. So we do have some programs where we offer work experience, and we're looking at sort of how we can do that a bit better. So when the pandemic happened, everything had to go online, and so we're now looking at a new program that is UK based. And so where can we facilitate that in our offices, and how can we make that more exciting for people to come in and experience what it's like to work in one of our offices, work with our clients, and see what we do day to day. I think that's really wonderful. But we also have, once you've finished your education and you want to join, we have some apprenticeship routes to come into the organisation, or some graduate routes, and then also we take people that may have had experience elsewhere to be able to come in. Additionally, we through some of the work that I do, we do different mentoring programs. So we can do work with schools to do CV writing workshops, or we call it speed networking, where we ask each other questions, and it's just getting people the practice to think about, how would I answer that question? How do I take my time to think about the answers? Am I being clear? And just presentation and technique and style, which is a really good practice for getting into the world of work. So we work with different charities that help facilitate that for us across the organisation. But we're always looking for new ideas on how we can do that a bit better. So if anyone's got any, then let us know.
That's wonderful to hear. I'm sure a lot of the young people or students watching this session right now would be so excited and honored to be part of your company. So do check out Deploy and JLL if you're looking for any opportunities like that. So now we're almost at the end of our program. I do have one final question for both of you before we end. So looking into the future of careers in sustainability, how do you envision that, like in your own companies or industries? What kind of areas or jobs do you think would be really interesting for young people in the future? Something that would really need the support of the next generation in terms of sustainability and protecting the planet. Beren, you can go ahead first.
Yes. So I'm a big fan of combining two different things. So I don't think, for example, I have friends who are in consultancies doing sustainability consultancy. For example, they go for bigger companies like P&G or other type of fast consumer goods companies, like anything that you can again see on the shelves, from like shampoos to soaps and those type of things, to manage them for, or like consult them on their packaging, how it can be more sustainable. But I'm a big believer that in near future, right now we have been seeing the trend of AI really immensely. Right now we have this discussions around ethics of it, and if at some point we will shut it down or not. But what I really see the benefit is the combination of this type of AI generated, or like AI databases or AI usage in context in our lives, not just in personal life, but also in corporate level, in like business level as well. So again, if I would be keen on doing a career in sustainability, I would really look into that intersection between AI, computer sciences, automation, or like in again industrial level, and how can I incorporate that, the things that I really enjoy doing with sustainability, to solve problems.
Thanks, Beren. How about you, Natalie? What do you think?
Yeah, I would say for this one, I think if we need to tackle all the issues that we're facing in the world at the moment in terms of climate change and nature depletion, we all need to be thinking about the jobs in the future, focusing on sustainability in some way. So if you're an engineer, where, like Beren, where are you solving problems and using tech, digital, or materials that are built and created in a more sustainable way? If you are a chef, how are you sourcing that food? What fields is that coming from? How are the animals looked after? If you are a hairdresser, what shampoos are you using? How can you save energy? How can you reuse water? Every career that we're thinking about needs to have a sustainable layer going through it. In the same way that maybe 20 years ago, we had a technology boom, and now we're all on computers all the time. If you want to book your appointment for something, it's done via tech. You don't call people up. It's we need to be thinking of that, but with green and sustainability credentials at the heart of it. So whatever takes your interest, think about how you can make it green, I would say.
Thanks, Natalie. And thank you so much, both of you, for your inspiring answers. I feel like those answers really are a source of empowerment for young people, that, they can do something to create positive changes for the planet and for our futures. And now we have reached the end of our program. Thanks so much, Beren and Natalie, for those insightful and engaging discussions. I know I speak for everyone here that today has been a great learning opportunity for us. And I also want to thank the students and educators at home or in their classrooms for joining us. You will be emailed a survey form, so please complete this so we can continue to improve our events and services based on your feedback. Also, look out for the recordings on our platform and YouTube channel. And if you aren't already following us, please do check us out on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. And yeah, please continue to share our work among your colleagues, friends, and family. And we do have upcoming events like this soon. And also to our educators, you can always arrange your own event for your school or your students by using our website. And I would also like to take this opportunity to invite anyone here, or if you would like to spread the word, that we are still looking for volunteers like Beren and Natalie who can speak to our students in events like this for the Sustainable Futures Project. So volunteers can sign up to our platform and inspire the next generation of young investors of our planet. So there we have it. Thank you so much for joining us. We hope to see you soon. And on behalf of the Sustainable Futures Project, our partners, WWF UK and Village Spark Education Trust, we thank you for your support. And happy Earth Day, everyone. Thank
Thanks.
you.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.